అమెరికాలోని న్యూజెర్సీలో యుఎస్ సెనేటర్ కోరీ బుకర్ సౌత్ ఏషియన్ కమ్యూనిటీ వారితో సమావేశమయ్యారు. ఈ సమావేశంలో డెమోక్రటిక్ పార్టీకి చెందిన నేతలు కూడా పాల్గొన్నారు. కోరీ బుకర్ గారు మాట్లాడుతూ సౌత్ ఏషియన్ కమ్యూనిటీస్ డెమోక్రటిక్ పార్టీకి మద్దతు ఇవ్వాలని మరియు అమెరికా అభివృద్ధిలో కూడా భాగస్వాములుగా ఉండాలని ఆకాంక్షించారు.
Thank you all for coming out. And I certainly take the role of being the first South Asian American to hold county office in New Jersey. I take that on with a great deal of respect. I'm always going around telling people that I don't consider myself a South Asian freeholder. I consider myself a freeholder, an American, a woman who happens to be of South Asian descent. And I say that And I say that because I don't want anyone ever to feel like I just represent a small pocket of the people of Middlesex County, because I do not. And even within the South Asian community, you know, I am often labeled the Indian freeholder because I happen to have been born in India. And I tell people all the time, I am not. I represent Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Nepalis, Tibetans, people from Arkansas who choose to move to New Jersey. I don't represent anybody. Because I was blessed. My parents immigrated here when I was 2 years old. And I have been taught to be so proud to be an American. And I will say this, for those of you who are naturalized citizens, and not just the South Asians in the room, but anybody here who's a naturalized citizen, you know what I'm talking about, because when you make that choice to become an American and you take that oath, it's an amazing feeling. It is a feeling of connection to a country where you're living in and contributing to and understanding that you've now become a part of something bigger than yourself. So I say that because this was built as a South Asian town hall, and it was never meant to just be for South Asians. And so this is a really lovely thing, and as the chairman mentioned, a testament to the diversity of this county. And there are going to be questions from a lot of different people. And I will say this, and the senator is going to realize it. I was at an event 2 weeks ago with Senator Menendez. And it was with just 11 other South Asian women. And we just had a meeting with him and us to discuss South Asian issues. And one of the things we told him really quickly is, yes, there are certainly specific issues that may touch on our community, but we all care about the same kitchen table issues as everyone else in this room. So we said to him, we may ask a question or two more than other groups might about immigration, but we also care about healthcare. We care about how we're going to take care of our seniors. We care about gun control. We care about a woman's right to choose. And so we wanted him to understand clearly that there's not a single specific, demographic group that only cares about one area. We all care about so many things. And Senator Menendez was incredibly open and lovely, and he heard us, and we had a terrific time. And I know tonight, or this afternoon, Senator Booker is going to get those same wide variety of questions. And I know him, and I've seen him. He's got boundless amounts of energy, so it's a good thing that there's a lot of space here. But I will say this, there's a huge crowd, and so not all of the questions are going to get answered, right? So please understand that he's going to do his best, but he's got a tight schedule. And there are many other representatives here from your local and your county and your state government, and you should feel free to reach out to all of them. Especially there's a big crowd of you here from this area, so you all know Dan Benson, you all know the senator, but there are a lot of people here, your local representatives, people from the other towns, and your county executives. And I think the one thing that you'll see, and it's partly who we all are, but also because of the leadership of the chairman here, that we really pride ourselves on being available to all of you. So after the event, please, all of you, the event, if there's something that you didn't get to ask or there's some other issue, please feel free to come up to any of us who are still around. I will be, and let us know, and you can also reach us all on our website. So that being said, I know that everybody here is more interested in our guest speaker.
When Nancy Pelosi was speaking for 8 hours straight, you know who was right behind her? Bonnie Watson. Did someone just walk in? Hello, I'm up here. Is this thing off? Bonnie Watson Coleman. So what we have done, and the senator knows this, is in Middlesex, because we feel confident about Frank Bloom winning and Bonnie Watson Coleman winning, is we are working with the other races, whether it be Malinowski in the 7th, whether it be Josh Welly, wherever it may be. Wherever we could take our resources, wherever we could take that enthusiasm, individuals, the MCDO is providing the logistical support for that. We cannot take that lightly, so we have the ability, and we're fortunate in Middlesex County to work with such groups. We're doing phone banks every Thursday night in Middlesex County, and they're not for the county. They're for the other legislative districts. Because we just want to be a part of turning red to blue. Now with that being said, and I know he will speak to the Senate race because of his very good friend, Senator Robert Menendez is running this year. And he was down in Monroe this past spring, right? And we had him at the Black Caucus with the sheriff not too long ago. But there couldn't be any more of a differential of Trumpism with his candidate, with his opposition, and the democratic ideas and ideals that we hold so true, that are imperative and so important. I just talked about our global standing. He is the ranking member of the Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Menendez is. If we're able to flip the Senate, he too will get that gavel to ensure that we could all sleep a little bit better at night. This race for Senator Menendez, all the way down, will be a defining moment in our nation's history. Now, this race in New Jersey is probably closer than most of us thought, but that's okay, because probably one of the toughest candidates I have seen in my 25 years of doing this now is a guy named Bob Menendez. I have all the faith in the world that he's going to pull it out because of the people in this room. Not only that, because he stands shoulder to shoulder with our guest speaker. We should all consider ourselves very fortunate today to have somebody like this gentleman coming up to speak. Not only of what he's been able to demonstrate throughout his entire career. Mayor, United States Senator, dare I say, presidential aspirations, absolutely. But if you've been watching the Kavanaugh hearings, he has also, and we all knew this of him, but this was on the national stage, and I couldn't be any more prouder, like Bonnie Watson Coleman sitting on the floor. But you couldn't be any more prouder than the fact that this gentleman was willing to put his backside, his insert title here, insert description here, on the line to forego what was determined by the Republican leadership as the rules, because they're as fluid as water. He came right out and said, no, the American people need to know everything that is possible about someone who's going to receive a lifetime appointment to the United States Supreme Court. That is not only profiles in courage, but it speaks to his core values, because it was the right thing to do. There isn't a stronger fighter, a better advocate that New Jersey can have, and we should be so fortunate that he's here in Monroe today. And again, I want to thank you all for being here, for all of your patience. Ladies and gentlemen, we're so fortunate to have him, our great United States Senator Cory.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's sit down. We have a little less now than an hour, and I want to take as many questions as I can. But I just want everybody to know, as I look around here, this is a gift. This means so much to me that we would fill this room. I've been all over the state of New Jersey today, but before I say that, I've been all over the country. We all know what's at stake in this coming election. And so I've been down with Beto O'Rourke in Texas. I've been around the neighboring state of Pennsylvania with Bob Casey. I've been in Atlanta, Georgia, campaigning for Stacey Abrams because the governor's seat. But this is what I love. This is what I love that happens to me when I travel, because this is something different for me. Because in New Jersey, we watch the battleground states, the swing states, Florida, Ohio. Suddenly, when I am traveling around, people are leaning in and saying, "Hey, Cory, tell me about this Mikey Sherrill. Can she flip that seat?" Hey, Cory, tell me about this Andy Kim. Can he really get rid of that guy that's a Trump partner? Hey, tell me about this Malinowski guy. Is he going to win? Suddenly, New Jersey has become a battleground state. First time we've been a battleground state, I think, since the Revolutionary War. So this is extraordinarily exciting. And so I'm grateful that when I go from the Gulf Coast, up to the Great Lakes states, that I see tons of energy and enthusiasm. But what makes me most proud, is when I'm crisscrossing this state for everybody from Jeff Van Drew all the way up to Mikey Sherrill, that I see crowds like I have never seen before. I see people so committed to the whole ticket, from Bob Menendez all the way down to county seats, to city council seats. This is what it's all about. And I want to say something about the chairman of this great county. You've got to know Chairman McCabe is somebody that believes patriotism is not a sometimes thing. It's not just a few weeks before voting time. It's an everyday thing. And when you tell me, I'm telling you this right now, he is not a Democrat just because it's some kind of club or some kind of tribe. He's the Democrat because he knows that this has been historically the party of Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. That this is the party of civil rights, of women's rights, of voters' rights, of LGBTQ rights. He knows that this is the party that cares as much about the people that come in and sit in the chairs for the event as much as it is about the people that will be cleaning these floors and the bathrooms when they're gone. He knows that this is a party of workers, it's a party of unions, it's a party of farmers. That's why I love this guy. And what you all are doing in this county in building the strength of the Democratic Party, it's not just about the party, you're building the strength of the people. And as long as I've been alive, I've known that in our country, that's what our democracy is about. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. So thank you for being here. I'm going to answer the questions that are there. It might give me chances to talk about other things. But I love a good town hall, and I love some questions. I don't know how we're doing this. You are the question asker. The mighty Monroe.
So I just got through telling you all that I don't consider myself the South Asian freeholder, but since I got to ask the question today, maybe I am now. Senator. The first question, it relates to gun control.
Yes.
And many people may have been focusing thoughts on this question relating to school shootings and everything else. This particular questioner had wanted to ask you, with the prevalence of guns being used in domestic violence situations, and with the majority of the situations then resulting in homicide to the woman and many times pregnant women, what are your thoughts on where we're going with gun control and how we can protect victims of violence in regards to gun control?
First of all, I'm so grateful for this question. Does the person remain anonymous, or can the person ask the question?
Ritu Chopra.
There you are, Ritu. Thank you very much for the question. And what I love about your question is when people think about gun violence in America, they tend to focus on these horrific mass shootings. And our attention on the issue pops up, and then it subsides again. And what most Americans don't realize is every single day, 90 people die by gun violence. It's an average, but about 90 people are dying by gun violence every single day. Now, a lot of those are suicides, people using guns to end their lives. But a significant amount of them are shootings in communities from Camden to Newark, as well as domestic violence. When I was mayor of Newark, New Jersey, I was stunned that somewhere between 5 and 10% of the murders we had in our city were always those murders inside the house, most often against women. And here we are at a time that we're talking about a Supreme Court nominee, and you have a woman who's courageous enough to come forward to talk about a reality in this country that is stunning. The rates of sexual assault, sexual violence in this country are out of control, are stunning. And over 70% of women who are assaulted, physically assaulted, don't come forward and to talk about this. We have this silent pain in this country that there's not enough conversation about. And so for us not to talk about domestic violence, the rates of domestic violence are shocking as well. And often the murders that come with it because people are getting their hands on weapons and using them. And there are loopholes in the law. There's something called the boyfriend loophole. So if you were a spouse that is convicted of domestic violence, you can't buy a gun in America, most places. But if you are a boyfriend, you know, and you're not, you have a loophole that you can still go through. If you're stalking and a boyfriend, you can still get a gun. And so these are the kind of outrageous loopholes that we have to talk about in closing. But I want to say one other thing. I'm the only United States Senator in America, the only one that lives in an inner city, low-income community. Now my neighbors, my friends, are rich with spirit, rich with character. But I live in a community, as the only senator, the majority black and brown community, median income, according to the last census, is about $14,000 per household. In a state that's one of the richest states in the nation. And my neighbors, just like all New Jerseyans, have dignity and have worth. My kids should go to quality public schools. They should have water that's clean and free of lead. Most Americans don't know that there's 1,000 jurisdictions in America where children have more than twice the blood lead levels in Flint, Michigan. But we have kids in New Jersey that go to school and can't drink out of the water fountains. In New Jersey, because the water is full of lead. My kids deserve the best. They have parents that work full-time jobs still below the poverty line. But this last July 4th, like every July 4th, was so frustrating to me because I talked to parents that when their kids hear firecrackers, it's not post-traumatic stress, it's ongoing traumatic stress. They die for cover, or they hide under their beds, or they lose sleep that on July 4th when we should be celebrating our country. I'm the only senator in America who have had shootings on my block. Shahad Smith died, was murdered, had his head exploded by an assault weapon this year alone. I live with this daily urgency. And it's outrageous to me that we don't keep our eyes focused on this issue. That is not a partisan issue. This is not an issue about left or right. This is an issue about right or wrong. And when you have 84% of gun owners who agree that we should close these loopholes, like the boyfriend loophole, or close the loopholes, like the loophole that allows you to go to a gun show and fill up the trunk full of weapons, even if you have a criminal conviction. The majority of gun owners are, why aren't we getting this change? And that's because we keep sending people to Washington who are more afraid of the NRA and the gun industry than doing what's right to protect their residents. Of being lectured by some people in Congress, and you've seen me be lectured in this most recent Supreme Court hearing about the Constitution. Well, our nation was formed. Look at our preamble. Look about why we were formed for the common defense. And when you have a New Jersey congressperson, like we have in MacArthur, a New Jersey congressperson, the only one that goes down to Washington and supports things like concealed carry reciprocity. What is that? That means if Arkansas passes a law where it's very easy for people to get a concealed weapon permit, that person can come into our state, they could go to our Wawas, they could go to our parks, carrying that concealed weapon, even though their standards are different than our standards for who should have a concealed weapon. And so God bless you for answering that question. This is one of those issues I feel very personally when you live on a block in a neighborhood that has shootings. And I'm telling everybody here, this is something I fought for as I joined with mayors from all around America, Mayors Against Legal Guns when I was a mayor. And as your United States Senator, I will fight this battle every single day.
Actually, this is a general question, but a number of people have mentioned it to me when they walked in. Democrats have for the upcoming election cycle?
Oh, great, great. Well, there's two questions I always worry about because I know my mom will put them up to those questions. So the first one is like, why aren't you married? Which I hear from my mom all the time. So
My
that
mom asked that question too.
So get that question out of that package. But the second question I get from my mom is like, what's the Democrats' message? What's the Democrats' message? And so let's just go to New Jersey for a second. We're in a midterm election. We have people up like Don Payne, who represents Newark, New Jersey. He wins with like somewhere between 98 and 99% of the vote. And then he goes out and tries to find the 1% that didn't vote for him. And then we have people like Jeffrey Andrew, who's running in the 1st district, which is a very red district. And their messages are very different. Their concerns of their communities are very different. And so when you talk about an overarching Democratic message, the first thing I want is really quality candidates that are running in the Democratic Party. And I don't care if you're running for a county seat or municipal seat or a congressional seat, you need to tailor, you need to have a message that speaks to the people that are in your community. And to think that we right now, we're not running a presidential election with a national message, we're running a whole bunch of folks in midterm elections all over the place. And the message, for those of you who are frustrated Democrats sometimes, but I'm sorry, the message for Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota, or in a bright red state that Donald Trump won by 20 points, or the message by Joe Manchin in West Virginia, another state they won, is not going to be the same message as Kirsten Gillibrand running over in New York, or my friend Elizabeth Warren who's running in Massachusetts. And if you want to have some kind of litmus test that says Joe Manchin can't be a part of our Democratic Party because he votes with us 90% of the time, and not like Elizabeth Warren 99.9% of the time, then we're not going to have a party that's going to win national elections and be able to take back control of the Senate and the House. And that's just the truth. I want to have a big tent party. I want to have a party that's inclusive of everybody, because that's who we are as Democrats. And so I'm going to say one thing, though, now that I've established all of that. I do want to say something about us that happened. This is a moment in American history that is a moral moment in American history. This is not about partisanship. This is not about, as I said earlier, left or right. It's a moment in our history where it's a gut check for who we are as a country. And I love the fact that today I was at a rally for Mikey Sherrill, and they could barely fit the people. I feel sorry for the poor family that hosted in their home. Their azaleas were being trampled over because there were so many people in that backyard. And I didn't call to a partisanship in that, because there's a tribalism that worries me in this country right now. And I tell the story of the 2 hugs. You might be telling, I'm a hugger, I apologize. And let me tell you the story of the 2 hugs. The first hug was a hug that I saw Chris Christie, our former governor, get pilloried, get beaten up for on the Republican debate stage. He was getting beaten up for hugging Barack Obama. Now, the moment we know in New Jersey, it was after Hurricane Sandy, and the president flew in Air Force One, came down the steps, and the 2 men hugged. And I'm a hugger, so it wasn't a good hug, I have to say. It was like one of those awkward nail hugs where you just don't know what to do with your hands, and your bodies too close. You know. But if they hugged each other, they ran campaign commercials in New Hampshire against Chris Christie, not because of his policies, heck, I can say a lot about his policies, but they ran because he touched, he embraced the Democrats. Hold on, I'm not done yet. I'm on the 2nd floor. It's the day that John McCain comes back from getting what became a terminal cancer diagnosis. And I warned you, I'm a hugger, so what did I do when John McCain came onto the Senate floor? I crossed the aisle from the Democrat side over to the Republican side, and I gave him an unapologetic, huge, bear hug. Right in front of the C-SPAN camera, so 15 Americans saw me do it. But by the time I got home, I'm sorry, 16, my mom, screaming at the TV, why aren't you married? By the time I got home, I'm getting killed on Twitter by fellow progressives for hugging John McCain. It was during a heated debate, though, because people didn't know which way he was going to vote on healthcare. They were screaming at me over Twitter, how could you hug him? We cannot let this nation get to a point where we presumptively hate each other, so much so that touching a person is a violation of your values. Patriotism is love of country, and you cannot love your country unless you love your fellow countrymen. I want Democrats to stand for, we've got to stop putting a message that is about what we're against. I had a reporter following me around today after a few rallies, great rallies, so much energy we did for Tom Malinowski and others. The reporter asked me, well, I don't hear you talking about Donald Trump that much. And I'm like, look, we are Democrats. This is not about what we're against. This is about what we're for. And don't get me wrong, I'll be quick to talk about the president's moral vandalism. I'll be quick to talk about the values that are being violated in this country, like ripping children away from their families. Tom Malinowski's mother is an immigrant from Poland, escaped communism and oppression and came to this country. That's the American values I know, not values that turn our back on people escaping persecution. Come on. This is I'll talk about the values of the president that wants to, literally says in Washington that the state that gives the most money to Washington is the least amount back, New Jersey. That then he wants to do a terrible tax bill that gives tax breaks to corporations that are already at an 85-year corporate high, and the tax rates he gave were lower than even the corporations were asking for. And who pays for that? We pay for it by giving up our state and local tax deduction. Yeah, I'm going to criticize that, but I will never let another human being pull me so low as to hate them. And I'll tell you right now, King said it. This is we as Democrats. We've got to remember this. King said it. He said so simply is that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate can't drive out hate. Only love can do that. And in this moral moment, we've got to know what the big enemy is. The big enemy is simply this. I went to go vote in Newark, New Jersey in 2008. Look, I miss Obama. And I miss her husband too. And I went to vote for her husband in November 2008. And you were line around the building. I come up to the end of the line. I'm the mayor of the city back then. I used to roll deep as mayor. Senator, you'll see me on my own, but mayor, I had a big SUV. I had police officers with me. I rolled in the line. I know I'm in Monroe. You guys are so nice in this town sometimes, but in Newark, you keep real. And the woman sees me at the end of the line. She turns around. Hi, Mayor. Great to see you. She says to me, "Don't you think you're cutting in this line?" I don't care who you are. You ain't special. You ain't like the rest of us. I'm the mayor of the city. I look at this woman, police officer next to me. I look at her and I go, "Yes, ma'am." And I wait for an hour plus to vote on that day. Many of you did the same. 1 year later, it's another major election in New Jersey. The gubernatorial election is 2009. We have an incumbent Democrat governor, and we have a challenger named Chris Christie. I go to vote, and nobody is at the polling place. I walk in and I hug the poll worker because she looks lonely. And then the returns come in. Chris Christie edged out the incumbent, and then things started happening. Funding to Planned Parenthood got cut deeply. In Newark, they had to close doors. Then we got pulled out of regional greenhouse gas agreements, which means other states got cold coming. We have asthma. The number one reason kids miss school all over New Jersey, health reason, is asthma. Then he says he's not going to raise taxes on anybody, but he cuts New Jersey's earned income tax credit, which means working New Jerseyans making $44,000 or less had to pay more in taxes. And everybody's running around asking me, why are the Republicans doing this? Oh, the Republicans are so bad. And I'm like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? The Republicans didn't do this to us. We did it to ourselves because we did not show up to vote.
A question about this. relates to highly skilled workers.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, highly skilled workers come in on what's called an H-1B visa. And the slight bit of background is the current wait time. If you apply for your green card today, the current wait time, they say, is 23 years.
Yes.
And so for many of you who don't know, someone like me who came here at the age of 2, if my parents now apply, if they're eligible to apply for the green card when I'm 2, they will get it after, obviously, I pass the age of 21. I am no longer covered under my parents' application. So there's a term that's growing now called H-1B dreamers, because those kids have been raised here like I was, and they pass the age of 21, they have to apply on their own. And with the current wait time, many of those children don't see the possibility of being citizens until their late 40s or 50s in a country that they've grown up in. So there is a bill, S-281, and so many people here wanted to know what your position is on it, and will you co-sponsor the bill?
So this is such an important issue. So imagine if you these children only know this country. Your parents have been here for years. They've been doing high-skilled jobs, which often create more jobs. And suddenly you find yourself with this new administration really in this lurch where you can't have a pathway to citizenship. Your spouse can't work. Your spouse is being restricted from even getting a job and helping to bring money into the community. Your kid doesn't even know the nation that you came from. And yet you can't have a pathway to citizenship that wouldn't take decades and decades. Because you say 23 years, you know this administration is restricting immigration overall, which can now up that to 30, 40 years. You play by the rules, you pay New Jersey taxes, you are serving this country and helping to create more economic activity, and you're being cut off. I have met with literally hundreds and hundreds of families on this issue, not only in this state, but when I travel the country and meet with other families. The immigration system we have is so unjust, and this is an example of this. And so what I'm doing right now is, that when it comes to immigration, we have in the United States Senate, the top senator on immigration issues happens to be our Senator Bob Menendez. And he pulled something off that right before I got to the Senate in 2013, which was a comprehensive immigration bill in the United States Senate that dealt with a whole host of issues that we're still struggling with, like dreamer issues, DACA issues, and the like. Then this is what happened. They politicized the issue. It became a political, opportunistic issue for many Republicans. But they realized, and this is why you can now go on Fox News, just watch it for a half an hour or so, and you're going to hear the language. Oh, it's all about MS-16, it's about crime and violence. Well, first of all, immigrants to this country have much lower rates of crime than us native-born folks. Now, my family goes back to the 1600s in this country, and I'm telling you right now, native-born folks have higher rates of criminal activity than immigrants do. And so I know Bob and I talk about this issue a lot, we talk about the need for comprehensive immigration reform. We don't believe we have a president of the United States that's interested in solving these things, because it would take away some of his demagoguery. Loves to talk about, I think, infestation. Using language like that about human beings is outrageous. And so what I commit to people time and time again about this specific issue is we're going to work to make sure that when we take back the House, when we take back the Senate, that we are going to make sure that we have a comprehensive immigration reform program that includes this issue. That's the best way to get this done.
This question is, how do we counter racism, which has become commonplace since Trump was elected, and how do we educate the general population about the benefits of diversity in thoughts and opinions?
First of all, I live in the greatest state of America. I mean, my race didn't even come up in the election. I'm the first black guy that New Jersey ever sent down to the Senate. And I just love it. I mean, you guys, we're the only state that has 2 minorities represented in the Senate. We've got a Latino and Bob, and a big bald black guy and me. and well, skinny, thank you. Say it louder. But it never came up even as an issue. I mean, really, that you have to think about that. When Obama ran, everybody was like, first black president, nobody in New Jersey was was talking about the fact that, New Jersey's first black senator, the nation's 4th African-American senator popularly elected in the history of this country. And for New Jerseyans, they just want to know, are you going to keep my taxes low? What are you going to do about health care, Cory? That's the beautiful thing about New Jersey. So here I am coming out of the Tom Malinowski rally earlier today, and I'm like holding on to this because every once in a while you get a constituent that wants to give you something that's under $50, I can take it. And this guy gives me this button. This white guy, a little older than me probably, but much better hair. And he hands me this button today that says "Smash Racism." He said, "This is a button from the year you were born, 1969. It says SDS. Does anybody know what SDS is?
Yes.
Yes. My baby boomers in this room know exactly what SDS is. This is amazing. This is students for a Democratic Society. You were in college when this was. And I started getting a little verklempt. And my staff hates it because I'm an ugly crier. And they're seeing me get emotional, but this guy wanted to give this to me because he knows what the history of America is. I just really want you, everybody, just take a second and look around this room. This is New Jersey right here. I'm looking at this room, I promise you, except for maybe, I think, the continent on the top, but our ancestry in this room covers the entire planet Earth. We come from every continent. Every continent, populated continent on planet Earth is represented in this room. In this room alone, right here. This is who we are. And if you think about this nation and how we're different than every other country on the planet, we're the oldest constitutional democracy. If you spin the globe right now, put your finger down, most of the countries you're going to touch, their borders were formed because of tribalism, because people were the same race or the same religion. I've been to India, I love the country. India and Pakistan, it was a religious break. We are this weird nation, this great human experiment that said we're going to found this nation, not because we all share a religion, we're not a theocracy, not because we all share the same race, or same ethnicity or descent from the same family tree. But we're going to be the first country to form a nation based upon ideals that are so bold and bigger than the people that even put them on paper. Because remember, their imperfections got put on that paper too. Native Americans in the Declaration of Independence are referred to as savages. Women aren't referred to at all. African Americans, slaves, Stokely Carmichael, those people in the 60s, remember, he used to always say constitute. I can only say 3/5 of the word. But yet the genius of America is that we've all realized, and it wasn't easy, but we're people that realized, hey, we're in this together. In fact, we need each other. There's a great African-American poet, Wendell Brooks, who says, we are each other's business. We are each other's harvest. We are each other's magnitude and honor. That sentiment was written into our founding documents. The Declaration of Independence, they knew what they were doing, breaking away from that monarchy. They knew that they were founding a country on ideals, on heart, on spirit. They knew that there wasn't the common chords that we find that bind people together. We go to the same church, where we look the same in the mirror. No, those guys knew what was going on, so they ended the Declaration of Independence with the greatest declaration of interdependence ever written to a country's founding documents. What did they say? They said, well, look, if this country is ever going to work, we need some deeper connections to each other. So they said at the end of that, we must mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Sacred honor. And so look at American history. Look at us. There's been no great advancements towards justice in this country that were done by one race, by one religion. It was all of understanding that we got to fight and stand up for each other. Think about this. The suffrage movement, was it just a bunch of white women sitting around? No. Talk about Sojourner Truth. I can name the great African Americans, whites, coming together. A whole bunch of men were involved too. The last meeting that Frederick Douglass attended before he died was a suffrage meeting. Think about the Civil Rights Movement. Was it a bunch of black folks fighting for black rights? No. Blacks, and whites, Christians, Jews, all coming together, literally dying together. Goodman, Cheney, Schwerner, dying for voting rights. Every great movement for justice in this country has reflected who we are as a people, a united vote. Black, white, brown, you name it, coming together and saying, we're going to fight forward. We're not going to let anybody divide us because we are one nation under God, indivisible. So I'm sorry, you guys have seen me get my jersey up on that Supreme Court nomination hearing. I'll tell you, when that Texan started insulting me, brought my jersey out, I had to go even deeper, he brought my Newark out. But since 9/11, the terrorist attacks in this country, you all know this, the majority of them have not been people from other countries, they've been Americans. Most of those have been right-wing organizations. Most of those have been white supremacist organizations or individuals. Dylan Roof going in and shooting up an African-American church. I know that these horrible Facebook pages or websites for these organizations, they use Donald Trump's words. How have we got to a point where you have a president that after people died on beaches in Normandy to stop the Nazi scourge, you have a president that can't even condemn Nazis? And so I know that now we get calls to my office about people in New Jersey transit getting heckled, sick Americans getting heckled, the levels of racist assaults in our country is going up. I'm not naive to that fact, but I know this. The antidote to that is in this room. The antidote to that is our history. The antidote to that is all of us understanding that we must be agents of love, agents of unity. That we all have an obligation to speak up, not just the people that are the subject of what's wrong. This is why when you see a culture of sexual assault, it's us men that should be standing up, not talking to women, but talking to other men. When you hear... I had a friend of mine tell me, Cory, I hear you were in black churches with folks, and we hear politicians talking about racism in black churches, but dear God, tell me, get out of the black churches, go to white churches and talk about racism. Because we all have obligations, black or white, male, female, Christian, Jewish, to be, not just to say, I'm not an anti-Semite, I'm not homophobic. No, we don't need people to say you're not. We need people that are actively working against racism, sexism, homophobia, and we all as individuals got to commit to that. Go ahead with your next question. Thank you.
So, I am a 7th grader, and I have a question for you.
Where is the 7th grade?
Yes, Nandini. Where is she?
Where is she? Okay.
All right.
It's getting to be her bedtime.
Oh, no, there she is.
Oh, hello. How are you? All right. This is your question. Don't sit down yet. I know how embarrassing it is. In 7th grade, it was my first public speech ever. I froze. I was so afraid. I was terrified. But you look so confident and calm. Well, then you can sit down. You're amazing. All right, ask your question.
Applications to get into Yale. And do you have any tips I could use to put myself on the right path? I'd really appreciate it.
So, I went to Stanford as an undergraduate, and I got in because of a 4.0 1600, 4.0 yards per carry, 1600 receiving yards. I was a football player. 4.0 yards per carry, 1600 receiving yards. I was a New Jersey's all-state football player, high school All-American. So I have to say I got in a way that very few people don't get in. But I will tell you this: I don't care. You're going to be successful in life. And my parents taught me really 2 things. One, and my parents were tough on me, they really were. My mom even today is tough on me. She says, behind every successful child is an astonished parent. And I'm like, come on, Mom, come on. Please tell them you're proud of me. And when I was growing up, when I was your age, my parents were so upset because my dad grew up really poor. He used to always say, Cory, don't tell people I was poor. Tell them the truth. I was just P.O. I can't afford the other 2 letters. That's how poor I was. And then he sees me, he's bringing me up in the suburbs of New Jersey, and he's like, boy, don't walk around this house like you hit a triple. You were born on third base, young man. And then I got into Stanford, and I went on to Oxford on this Rhodes Scholarship, and I went to Yale. And my father's looking at me, you know, this is how he raised me, to work hard and pursue a higher education. But he still wasn't satisfied. He's like, boy, you got more degrees in the month of July, but you ain't hot. and their message always to me is what defines you in life is not the degrees that you get, but the service that you give. My biggest recommendation for you is definitely excel in school, work hard. Life is too short not to give it your all. But I think we've gotten to a point in American history where we see a lot of people who mistake the wrong things for what success is. People look at celebrity and not significance. They look at popularity and not purpose. They get caught up in consumerism and materialism, but don't really know that the character of America has not been about how much you have. It's always been about how much you give.
Additional funds to states to support education, and any legislation specifically to prevent.
So what is happening to public education in this country is downright criminal. And I say that word because I'm a competitor, you know, former Stanford football player, and I like to win. And I see all these other countries doing what we did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. During those decades, we said we were going to out-educate the planet Earth. And other countries looked around and said, oh my gosh, you know, even if you're running the business, the quality of your employees is most important. Let's ramp up our education system. And suddenly these other countries started sprinting past us on valuing public education. So now you have, most other industrialized countries have something we don't, universal preschool. You have other countries who said, look, we're going to make sure that our kids are getting the training and skills that they need to succeed, so they have better apprenticeship programs for us than we do. And then you have other countries that are saying for those kids that want to go to college, they've reduced the cost of college dramatically. In Germany, it is between 0 and 4% of the median earnings of a family to go to college. In Canada, it's like 6 to 7%. Can't stand those Canadians, they're always out-Americaning us. Germany, England, it's about 7%. How much does it cost in America to go to college? 52% of the median family income. And the salaries of teachers are not keeping up with the cost of living that's going up. And thank God we have teachers in some states, we've seen it, a number of states now revolting against this reality. Because we're asking more and more teachers to do more with less, and we're actually pushing new teachers away from this profession, because when people sit down and do the kitchen table math, they're not sure how they'll ever make ends meet if they go into public education. And so the reason why I'm so excited about this question is because New Jersey's teachers unions and I sat down and said, what can we do about this? And we designed a bill, a very bold bill, that would create massive streams of resources to empower teachers to succeed. Here's some of the things that bill does. Number one, it tells teachers you should get a much larger tax break where you can deduct the expenses that you use to help your students. It's crazy that that's capped. They're giving carried interest deductions to Wall Street hedge fund millionaires. Massive deductions costing us as taxpayers millions and millions of dollars, and we're squeezing teachers to just a limited amount of money that they can deduct when they're helping our kids, which is probably much more value added to our economy than the incentives of carried interest. Number two, it creates. The bill has a much better loan forgiveness program in it that is much more robust. So if you're going to go and teach, you should get your loans forgiven a lot quicker. And so we've worked together to say, hey, if we're going to have the best competitive public education system on the planet Earth, we need to make sure that teachers are compensated and incentivized and relieve the financial stress and strain so that they can focus on what's most important, which is educating children. And then the last issue is so important too. You know, you see these scams going on by some colleges just trying to get people into their college. They don't care if they can graduate. They're just trying to get as much money in. Let's come on, get your government. And you have kids that come into these colleges, rack up tons of debt, and then they're not even getting the degree. And then they get the degree, it's not even leading to a job. That's outrageous. And there should be more accountability. So I've joined with other legislators like Senator Bob Menendez, to try to create accountability so that if you were going to be a credentialed college, that you have to have some accountability into making sure that people complete their degree and actually it leads to work. All right, go ahead, next question.
How can we better support?
How can we better support?
Supports the socioeconomic makeup of the Asian American community in America.
How can we better support the socioeconomic? How can you better support the diverse socioeconomic makeup of the Asian American community in America? I'm not exactly sure what's being asked here, but I will talk about what we should be doing in our economy in general. And this is a little bit wonky, so please stick with me. But everybody, one of the things we think to ourselves, the number one country you would want to be born poor in was the United States of America, because you had the best chance of making it out of poverty. Now, what's changed about American society? Well, one is the minimum wage. If you worked a minimum wage job in the 1960s,
coming here, bringing a wonderful crowd, and we look forward to a victory for all our candidates in November.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Tambor, everybody. Thank you. We just had another one of our elected officials, a wonderful young man from Piscataway, has been serving.
Hi viewers, TV5 viewers, welcome to the special edition. We have here with us, as you know, we are covering the Democratic Town Hall from Senator Booker, and we have with us few Democratic leaders who want to share their experiences and the details and how they want to pursue ahead. So with me is Anand Paluri Garu. So let me hand over him the mic and he can take it further.
Thank you very much, Andy. TV9 చూస్తున్న శ్రోతలందరికీ నమస్కారాలు. ఈరోజు today we are gathered here in Monroe Township Senior Center. We're hosting a town hall type of meeting with Senator Cory Booker. And it's not surprising at all to me that most of the questions that people are asking Senator Booker were about education, quality of education, and the type of education. There's almost 300 people in the hall asking questions. The interview is still going on. But as he mentioned, I'm also running for the Board of Education in Monroe Township. The reason for running for Board of Education is we all value the education to be our most important asset that we want to pass on to our kids to make sure that their future and their lifestyle is better than the ones that we were given by our parents. So with that, there's a slate of 3 of us that are running together. We have the same values in terms of what we want to do. We want to get more funding from Trenton in terms of state aid. We want to have good, solid education for our kids, and we want to have the facilities that can accommodate and provide that strong educational background for our kids. So with me, running with me is Rupa Siegel. She's actually a mom and also a PTO president, and also candidate Lou Masters, who was on the Board of Education a while ago. We're not here as Democrats or Republicans. We're really here as community service members who want to serve the community that we live in. So with that, I would like to have Rupa say a couple of words.
Hi, my name is Rupa Siegel, and I am running for Board of Education, as Andy had said. We feel it's really, as Andy had mentioned before, we want to bring focus back to our children, make sure that we're focusing on the education and bringing the programs to the kids that they need to have to build them into. They are the future of our community. So we do want to continue to work alongside our school administration, our community, our towns, our parents, everyone that's involved, to be that voice and to bring those great things to our children. So I'm going to hand it over to Lou.
Yeah, I'm Lou Masters. They did take most of my points, but I came from a family of educators, so I know how important it is, and I know how hard our teachers work and how much time and effort they put in to shaping the next generation of doctors and lawyers and everything that we're going to use or the country really depends on. So again, what we really want to do is refocus our efforts back on education and getting that quality of education for all of our children.
Thank you, Lou. Let me just say this, that I'm originally from Vizag. My నాన్నగారు Andhra University, he was a professor in space physics. So education runs in our family, and we understand the importance of it. So giving back to the community, మనం ఇక్కడికి అమెరికా వచ్చాక కూడా ఇండియాలో ఏదో చేయాలనుకునే కన్నా, let us try to contribute something to the American society where we're earning our bread and butter, and also give back to the community. So that's another reason why I'm running. And quite honestly, I encourage everybody who's watching this video to give back to the community that you live in as well, not just sending it back to India. So with that, any questions, we'll be more than happy.
So we have Mary DeVos, the current Secretary of Education, putting more emphasis on charter schools. So what is your take on this, and what will you do once you get elected about the same?
Yeah, the charter schools really do not come under the purview of the school district that we're looking at. We're only for public schools here. But charter schools do put a dent in the whole education system in the sense that they're privately for-profit organizations. But we believe in public schools. And I went to public school in India, and I did go to college and university here as well. But we do believe in public education. That's one of the reasons why we're running. Louis, anything you want to add?
Yeah, just to, again, I'm also not a fan of charter schools. They do dilute the education. One of the other things is they have varying degrees of entrance exams. You've heard all kinds of stories about, are they excluding certain ethnicities? Are they excluding certain levels? Do they fund special education like the public schools do? And I think really what we have to do is focus on fully funding our public schools before we start looking at these private enterprises, which again, the Board of Education has nothing to do with, but will be impacted by.
I've been fortunate. I did grow up in New Jersey my whole life, and I went through the public school systems, and one of the beauties of the public school system is the socialization piece for the students also. I feel with the, in agreement, we don't really in Monroe have charter schools, but public schools allow you that socialization and to build that sense of community. So I do believe in the public education.
So one more last question on Park. What is your take on that, about No Child Left Behind and the STEM education? How do you want to promote that?
The good news to all of you is Park is going to go away. And I certainly hope, and I had this conversation with the governor himself, and he's behind the fact that the park has to go away. STEM education is the fundamental thing as far as the Southeast Asians are concerned, and just general public in overall. Science and maths and engineering is, most of us in Southeast Asia who come from there are either engineers or doctors or IT professionals. So it's very important for us to make sure that we have those in the curriculum, the robotics and what's going on right now in the industry. So the teaching and the curriculum has to really match with the skill set the industry is looking for once they graduate and come out. And that's what we really want to focus on. And quite honestly, Rupa has done a tremendous job looking at the curriculum. She's been on the Monroe Township Curriculum Board and making sure that the right courses are being taken. I think Rupa can answer this better than I can.
We have been very fortunate in Monroe to have a great academic system and curriculum in our school system. We are lucky in our high school. We do have a lot of AP programs that are focusing on STEM, robotics, math education, all that stuff. So we
robotics in the curriculum itself?
They are looking at robotics right now, so it is coming. But yeah, regarding the park testing, park is going away, as we know. There will be some kind of testing, I'm sure, at some point, but the testing is also important, so it gives us feedback, and it allows our administrators to be able to develop our curriculums where they see the gaps so that no children are left behind. So that is a piece also.
Actually, that was really good. So No Child Left Behind, excellent program. Park's a little twisted. As we said before, Park is going away, but there is a legislative requirement that you have to have some kind of exam in place. So we have to look and see what's going to be the next park or whatever we're going to call it. Very illogical, very poorly planned out. When I was on the board, it was right before Park kicked in, and we were trying to find more information about it, but it was really just pushed on a lot of the school districts by the state, at the state level. I think New Jersey is one of a handful of states that are left into it, but again, I'm not a big fan of it. STEM, I think it's a great great program. Monroe is really embracing that. Yeah, my son at the middle school level was building robots, which is a great thing. We should start them early. Again, we really have to, coming from an engineering, I'm actually an IT engineer, it is a great program to have, and we should start them early. Coding is also a big thing that I think should be supplied at an early age, at the elementary school even. But again, these are programs that we need the funding for. We have to fight for the fair funding, get all the funding in so we can provide this excellent education to our children.
Well, let me just hold on to the funding for a second. One of the biggest problems we have in Monroe Township is lack of funding. Our school budget is close to $135 million, and we hardly get less than $5 million right now. I believe it's $3 million something that we get from the state. One of the things that we really want to focus on, and I have focused over the last couple of years, is to get more state funding. And the first thing we want to do is not only just getting the state funding, but also change the funding formula that's there. And I'm going to work, and my team is going to work, we're all going to work together to make sure that the governor already heard me, and we were hoping that he would actually act upon it and change the school funding formula so that reasonable amount of money comes to. We're not against the Abbott districts, but however, when it comes to funding schools like in Monroe, we need our fair share. And right now, we are having tremendous trouble with the growth that we're experiencing in Monroe and not able to accommodate proper facilities and teaching, the quality teaching we want to provide our kids. So we're focused on that. In terms of talented and gifted, we have these programs. All these programs can be put in place, whether it's a STEM or robotics or talented and gifted, is when we have funding in place. Mm-hmm. The biggest problem is this lack of funding. And we're going to look at the budgets. We want to see where we can cut internally to be more disciplined, but more importantly, we want to look at external to see how we can increase our funding. Getting $3-4 million for a $135 million budget is not acceptable, and we all agree on that. So it's just a matter of how we can get that. I testified in front of the Senate, I testified in front of the Assembly and to the Budget Committee. We were able to get about $2 million, but $2 million is just a drop in the bucket. I fully understand that. We need to get a lot more. That's what we're going to work towards.
And our fair share. We want our fair share.
Fair share. And whatever we're sending back to Trenton, we want to get our fair share back. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck for you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Hi viewers, we have with us Steve, who is the councilman here, and he is one of the organizers of the town hall, and let him introduce himself and we'll talk more. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Council President Delina here in Monroe Township, and we're very, very pleased and proud to have our Senator Booker here for an event to bring together, and I always say it's the crossroads of America. I work at Rutgers University, and we had President Obama come to speak at a commencement where he says Rutgers is the crossroads of the United States, and that's how we feel here in Monroe Township, a diverse community, a community rich in culture, and a community that are very proud of their heritage. And to have the senator come to speak at a town hall event, to have everyone here and to hear him, hear his points, we're very proud of that.
Okay, sir, you have a lot of South Asian community along with you while
Yes.
you were growing in your office.
Yes.
And also as a community leader. What is your take on that?
Again, it's an opportunity, and it's a point where we can come here, all diverse, all ages, and we rely on each other. And it's really it's what's inside of us and what we provide to the community that is the most important point. And it doesn't matter, Indian, American, Hungarian, black, white, it doesn't make a difference what color or what you are, it's what you bring to the table. And I think that's so important. I think that's what Senator Booker was talking about. And obviously it looks like he's all done. But again, it's just, I'm very proud to be the council president and to have an event like this.
So here also, I've talked to a few evangelical Christians,
Okay.
and they have said that during the elections of Trump, there was a lot of divide, and a lot of Christians feel that their culture is being invaded and Christianity is going to die because of a lot of immigration and all those.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a serious thing. If I were Christian, I wouldn't like another immigration happening.
Yeah,
So what's your take on that?
I know. Well, history has shown in the United States there has always been a xenophobic element to the United States, history, and that's something that gets overcome. And I think that as long as that spirit of community together and we celebrate diversity, that xenophobic flavor can be pushed aside. And again, that's what it makes America great, is that it allows diverse points of view. However, we all have to work together. This is what we've been put on this planet for, and I think it's really important that we work together in that aspect.
It was great talking to you, Delaney.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you being here. Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Hello, sir. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, I am Hemant Patel, the founder and the president of the India-US Forum of Monroe Township. In the Monroe Township, and most importantly, our goal and vision and mission is to stay united and bring the community under one umbrella in the four core aspects of our society system. One is education, second is culture, talent, third is civic engagement and humanitarian work, and most important is professionals and business. What we headed over here today to bring the Senator Cory Booker from Washington DC, to listen to him and count our community as part of mainstream America. Today's event happened in Monroe. That's what the open arm welcome to the Indian nationals from overseas to Monroe as a council, mayor, and recreational center. All people are working together as a good neighbors and hand to hand in the ad board, as well as teaching and sports.
Okay, sir. We heard about comprehensive immigration reform, whereas Republicans don't speak loud about that. What is your take? How do you plan to convince Republicans in your community?
Okay, our community as a business of the technology, science, and service sector, the H1 or the software development business, when they want to come from overseas just to meet their customers or potential client, their visas has been denied from last 1.5 years badly because of the Washington DC message. This should be avoided by working on the merits of each case and not to take as a thumb rule. Second thing, our community contribute a lot towards immigrations and honest and legal. There is nothing like illegal immigration applied to the South Asians whenever they come with the talent and legally standing in the application process.
And how do you plan to reduce the time frame for the green cards and citizenships?
Okay, that procedure is by each country works on the quota, and waiting line is long for Southeast Asia and particularly India. Now that line has to go down based on citizenship sponsored. They should come within 6 months to 1 year, or the parents, dependable parents, aged parents, because then there is nobody over here. And Indian culture is a joint family system, so we cannot afford to leave our parents 10,000 miles away.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for your interview. Thank you a lot. Hi, welcome viewers. We have with us a very senior citizen, and he's going to tell us something about the Democratic Party and what he thinks about the town hall and South Asian community in general. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Very pleased to have Senator Booker with us today. He's just a terrific guy, and I think represents our state very, very well.
Oh, okay.
All the citizens.
Nice.
And he did a great job today.
Yes. So how do you think about the South Asian community that is surrounding you? So the camera is there, so you can.
Which community?
South Asian community that is surrounding you, and
the South Asian community is a vibrant community. It's important to our economy in New Jersey and Monroe, and it's important in politics. I know in the Monroe Democratic Club, some of our South Asian members have been a big help to us, a big help. And they're very politically motivated and know how to get things done.
Awesome. So what is your take on the immigration? You may have seen a lot of immigrants in your life over a period of time. What is your current take on the immigration?
Well, my personal thoughts on it are we've always been a country open to immigrants, democratic, free society, and I think that's the way it should be. We should not put quotas on any particular nationality. We should be open, as we always have been, to every ethnicity, every race.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your precious time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
Good to see you.
Likewise. Thank you, sir. Hello, viewers. We got lucky here. We have with us Kevin McCabe, who is the chairman of Middlesex County Democratic Party. So let's talk with him a few bits about what this meeting is all about and how he's going to steer the Democratic Party in this particular county. Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Got it. Thank you for having me.
So how do you plan to take the seats in New Jersey?
Well, in New Jersey I will say this, as Middlesex goes, so goes New Jersey. So the stronger that we have a turnout and a plurality for the Democratic column in Middlesex County, we'll probably rest assured that there'll be success at the statewide level, from the U.S. Senate and Robert Menendez to our congressional members, and it all starts at the local level. I'm a former municipal chair, so I believe in developing at the foundation, and the foundation is ensuring that we have victories in places like East Brunswick, Sayreville, and other communities to make sure that we ensure success all the way up to the United States Senate.
Awesome. So in the 2014 election, Trump was saying "Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar," and he got a lot of South Asian communities' votes. And how do you plan to take it away from him?
I don't think we're going to take it from him. I think, like most Americans, they're waking up to the fact that we need different leadership. He is the president, but we have the ability now to put a check, and that check is the checks and balances is to ensure that the only way that we're able to curtail his policies is to make sure that we have a Democratic Congress that is a House of Representatives and Senate. Now, like most, I say this cautiously, but I will say this, that we do believe that we'll be able to turn the House of Representatives from red to blue, and with a little luck, but certainly with skill and some great candidates, that possibly we could take the United States Senate. But I will say this, the only way to make sure that this happens is if, whether it's the South Asian community, whether it's the white community, whether it's the Jew or the black, to make sure that we all get out and vote for the ideals and convictions that we believe in, because there's too much at stake.
So why do you think Trump won the South Asian community's vote?
Clearly he spoke to a message that appealed. Now he ran around and spoke to audiences and told the audiences, whatever they wanted to hear. But I think now that people are starting to, after 2 years now almost, starting to recognize that there's a long distance between talking and acting, and his actions do not speak to the values, I think, of certainly the people of Middlesex County.
So what do you think are his primary failures?
I just think he's been divisive. I think all of his policies, from the Muslim ban to pulling children away from families to even the Supreme Court nomination that's taking place, it's just one after another, a drip of divisiveness. He, at the end of the day, it's funny, not funny, but you talk about why the South Asian community voted for him. I don't believe that he is governed towards a South Asian community. I don't believe he's to any community other than his base. And if you're going to do that, that's going to equate to being a divisive leader. And that's exactly what he has proven to be.
I have talked to a few evangelical Christians, and they said that during the elections of 2014, there was a huge divide, and a lot of Christians felt that their religion is in danger. And I don't know how the situation is right now. How do you plan to counter that?
Again, the only way we can, that's a very broad question, right? Yes. We could be here all day. The best way to ensure that all Americans feel like that they have, that all Americans feel like they're a part of the process is to elect leaders who lead. and lead for all Americans, not just for one particular given base or one ethnicity or one religion. It's what this country was founded on. So whether it's Christians, whether it's Muslims, whether it's Jews, whether it's Catholics, you need to have a leader in the White House who will listen to all so that he can govern accordingly, he or she can govern accordingly and put forth a policy that speaks to the whole, not just to the slice.
Last question. Do you think that the next president will be from New Jersey?
There's a very good chance of that. I think we just heard a gentleman here today, Senator Cory Booker, who has completely distinguished himself among many. The way he has comported himself and carried himself, not only in the town halls here in Middlesex County or in New Jersey, but we've seen it time and time again throughout the halls of the Capitol. He understands the issues. He understands working middle class values. He spoke about that very clearly here today. He has in his heart a compassion for all Americans and not just a certain few. You'd be hard pressed, and we're very fortunate to have him as a United States Senator. He has done a lot of good for New Jersey, and he continues to carry that distinction in such a manner that he certainly has established himself as a strong contender, if in fact he chooses to do so. However, paramount today is to make sure that we reelect Senator Bob Menendez to the United States Senate, Bonnie Watson-Coleman to Congress, our freeholders, and our local level candidates. Because again, if we don't elect our leaders at the local level, then we're going to have a tough time winning at the top.
Thank you so much, Kevin McCabe. Good luck and congratulations. Thank you.